Here is how to make samples in the style of Nami and Coop the Truth. First up, we start with this sine sound from Sparkz. Then we add these effects. We start off with a parametric EQ here, which is completely cutting out the mid and boosting some of the high. So now it sounds like. We then add some reverb, very low on the wet, and halftime. This is in the key of D minor and the BPM of 100. The notes we're playing here is F, E, and then D. These two are dissonant notes, which means lack of harmony, which creates that eerie type of feel. It goes from F to E, taking advantage of dissonance, and then back to the note of the key. Next up, we add some chords. I loaded up labs for this one, and the modular piano's 12. Now this is following the exact same notes before, instead we're playing chords on here as well. So as you can see, what I've done is I've made a basic F minor chord right here, through these three notes, and then put the C down 1 octave, and then layered our root note up 1 octave. This can create a interesting effect. Now I kind of done similar things for the rest of the chords here. I really want to experiment with dissonant notes for these types of samples, and sometimes things won't actually be in the key but will sound good, so trust your ear. To this I added an EQ which cuts out all the bass and all the high end, as I didn't want it to clash with other frequencies in the sample. Next up, we have a repetitive guitar, which is playing just the bottom 2 notes of each of our chords here. On this guitar we have a basic EQ, which is cutting off a little bit of the mid, low and bass, and then we're cutting that extreme high end over in the treble. We have this drum loop in the background, which gives it a little bit of texture. Let's listen to this all together. Sounded nice and clean. Next up, for the introduction of the beat, I added this bass here. Now this is playing the root notes of our chords up here, and this exact same notes as this here. I like to add in a sub bass to the intro to make it more atmospheric and build up a lot of tension, so when the beat drops, that tension's released and the drums seem to hit way harder. I also added a second part to the sample. This one has copied the chords over to a separate piano. This time the piano has an EQ, boost in the mid, a delay here, which is half mix, a flanges, and finally a reverb. Then I added this little harp. The effects that I added here is the parametric EQ boosting a lot of the high, the cymatics origin to degrade the sound, give it some saturation, movement and chorus, and finally a vinyl effect all together. Next up, I got a mallet sound and copied the same notes. The effects on this mallet is a parametric EQ boosting a little of the low mid, a fruity reverb, and again a cymatics origin, all together with our second part of the sample. The point of that is to give it some variation and make the beat a little more interesting. The next thing that I added was this vocal sample, which I recorded. This is following the same notes up here, and then a little sound. A little sound of me going ah ah. Now the effects that I have on this vocal chain. First up, for the vocals, we have an EQ here in like a triangle kind of shape, smoothing out the high and the low. We have a cymatics origin to degrade the sound for the same type of reasons. We have a light reverb here in mono. We have a flanges here and a limiter boosting the gain. Now I routed this to a separate track and added auto-tune on the top, a parametric EQ cutting out some harsh frequencies and boosting the high mid, another reverb just copied over, a fresh air, which is a free plugin which adds some presence in the mid and high, another EQ cutting out some extra frequencies, finally a separate reverb to largen the sound. This is it without. Lovely. Tremendously better, right? So altogether our sample here sounds like this. And the guitar. This beat isn't quite finished. The focus is the sample, so the full version will feature more drums and etc, but it will be at the top right of the screen. With making samples like Nami and Coop the Truth, you want to take advantage of layers, accents and textures. You want your sounds to also be very degraded and not so high fidelity. So I'll show you a little preview of the beat here. Yeah, I hope this video helps. That's pretty much it. I hope you like the beat as well. This is kind of a short one, but we keep it short and snappy here. I hope you're excited for more content on the way. I appreciate all of you watching. Thank you. Peace.